In our first story, Behind Mansion Walls.
Lucy seemed to find some kind of escape in using the internet.
An online search for love
I'll get you, you bastard!
finds the dark side of desire.
You will nothing without me. This house, this lifestyle, this luxury, this money.
You got that bitch!
And later,
He was a truly gifted individual. He could talk to animals, they listened.
celebrities called him the dog whisperer, but someone wanted him silenced.
Showing up with a bulletproof vest, a 9mm handgun. Is that what you bring to a meeting?
I'm Christopher Mason. Love and money. Sounds like the perfect combination for living the good life. But don't be fooled. Love and money can lead you to a deadly choice. To kiss or kill.
Lucy Landry was, to anybody who knew her, a delightful young lady. She was a very talented musician. All who knew her liked her.
It's the year 2000. Lucy is a 28-year-old student at an English university. Her live-in boyfriend works the night shift to make ends meet.
Bye, honey.
But Lucy is bored and restless.
She seemed to always have this outlet where she needed something else, or she wasn't happy with what she was doing.
There must be more to life than this. Something more romantic, more glamorous.
Although she came across as a bright, bubbly, intelligent girl, I think she was looking for something and she could never quite find it. Lucy seemed to find some kind of escape in using the internet.
And late one night, Lucy hits the jackpot. An American man living in Louisiana is also looking for love online. This guy's a little older than Lucy. He's 53. She's 28. But he is loaded. A multimillionaire with money to burn. Harold Landry.
They met on the internet through a dating site. Lucy Landry was in Coventry. Harold Landry was in America. And looking at them both, you would wonder what they had in common. There was a 27-year age difference. She came from quite a humble background. He was very, very rich. She was certainly swept off her feet when she met Harold Landry.
Oil has made many millionaires in the South. Harold Landry discovers you don't even have to own the black gold to make a mint.
He ran a company that made hydraulic equipment for oil rigs and oil companies. He was a self-made millionaire. Started with very little, but built up his company. It was very successful.
With Harold's wealth comes expensive tastes. He likes to collect antiques, rare stamps, and coins. He appreciates fine wines and owns a vacation home on a Mexican island.
Hello, this is Harold Landry speaking.
Harold seems like the perfect Southern gentleman, but he always gets what he wants.
Well, that's just too bad. It's your job to make it happen. You call me when it's done.
This man was not somebody who was anything except very confident of his own position and very confident of his own capabilities.
With millions in your back pocket, any dream can come true. Harold moves to England and quickly makes Lucy Mrs. Landry.
Why, thank you, sir.
He buys his new bride an English manor home on an exclusive country estate. There, she lives in a world of wealth beyond her imagination. And both of them feel they have done particularly well.
I think that he felt he had found the perfect woman in Lucy Landry.
He could afford her things that she had never been afforded before and things that she may not even have dreamt about. And she must have felt at that stage like her life was made.
Now, the way you tell if a wine's got good legs is you
They have a daughter together. And for Lucy, the life of a struggling student is a distant memory.
see how the wine sticks to the wine.
On the face of it, they were a happy family with a nice house on a private estate, very quiet, 5-bedroom house, a dog, nice neighbours.
If only finding love and money were that simple.
She didn't work. I think she got comfortable. There was that element of boredom creeping in. And Harold got what he wanted, and Lucy maybe hadn't got everything that she wanted.
There was something inside there, inside of her, which obviously was restless.
Harold's millions once dazzled Lucy, putting the pearls around her neck. Now, those pearls are choking her.
It's almost as though things shifted and she suddenly thought, maybe what am I doing with this guy?
Both big drinkers. The Landry's nights at home start swaying from Beaujolais to bitterness.
He would belittle her just by letting her know constantly that he gave her all this.
You won't get.
You were nothing without me. This house, this lifestyle, this luxury, this money.
Just because I don't want someone that's old and fat and drunk all the time.
All this is down to me.
You drunken pig!
Lucy's fairy tale mansion in the English countryside is fast becoming a prison. Bored and lonely, she turns to an old flame, a consuming passion she just cannot resist: the internet.
She had a profile on a social network where she caught up with an old school friend, Gareth, and they got talking, and they probably got flirting.
Online flirting becomes real-time loving.
She identified, I think, with Gareth, something that she'd had in her past and something that was a little bit more exciting than probably Harold could give her. She liked the taste of that, and that's what forced her apart from her husband.
And now, Harold Landry's dream crumbles. A young bride, an English manor house, a happy life in love. His millions can't buy it all, and he can't stand it.
Harold Landry came across as a very warm and friendly character. But he had running through him a jealous, nasty streak. He would fly into a rage at any opportunity, particularly when he didn't get his own way.
Online dating profiles are quick to tell you about loving fine wines and romantic walks on the beach. They are less forthcoming about past charges for murder.
She found out online what her husband had done. And she found out these things about him that she couldn't believe and she couldn't quite compute.
Louisiana, Landry country. He labeled himself a true Cajun. And here around New Orleans is where Harold made millions and made trouble.
He just always seemed like he thought he was better than everybody else. He never was cordial or nice.
New Orleans attorney Gilbert "Gibby" Andre knew Harold Landry when he lived in St. Bernard Parish.
Landry moved to the North Shore, started his own business. Well, he needed help with his family. Part of that helped including having a babysitter assist him in raising his kids. That's where Miss Price comes in.
Miss Price is Landry's nanny.
Well, Miss Price and he develop a relationship, and it turned into an affair. Mr. Price comes home early for work one day, as is always the case in cases of affairs. As he's driving down towards his house, Price sees Landry. Landry pulls out a revolver. Price gets out of his vehicle to confront Landry.
Get out of the car! Get out!
Landry shoots Price in the neck.
Chris Price wasn't entirely in the wrong place at the wrong time. There is a hospital right across the road.
Literally, you could see the hospital from where Price was laying on the highway, bleeding. He goes straight into surgery, and he is saved.
Luckily, Mr. Price survives, and so does Harold Landry. Charges of attempted murder are reduced to aggravated battery. He gets a non-custodial sentence.
The man, Landry, takes out a gun in cold blood, tries to blow away Mr. Price, whose wife he's having an affair with, and then drives away to leave him to bleed to death. Did not serve a moment in jail for this.
Lucy is in a bind. Her husband likes to solve problems of the heart with the barrel of a gun. And she's having an affair. It's her move.
I'll get you, you bastard!
Behind her English mansion walls, Lucy Landry is making some terrible discoveries. One is that she no longer loves her wealthy American husband, Harold.
It's his money that's bought the house. It's his money which puts food on the table. And boy, does he let her know about that all the time. And she may have just been lonely and looking for love.
Lucy finds that love with an old school friend on the internet. And then her online searches uncover something frightening.
Of course, we all have moments in our lives when our finer qualities don't get the chance to shine. It's just that Harold Landry's indiscretions involve his children's nanny, illicit sex, and the deadly blast of a .38 revolver. Enough to make any inquisitive wife reach for her lawyer.
Ruthless is an outstanding way to describe many facets of Harold Landry's character. He was ruthless in his business life, he was ruthless with the people he dealt with, and he was certainly ruthless in his personal life. And he was the kind of guy who didn't like people getting in his way.
Lucy has already tasted Harold's anger.
Oh, come on, hit me! Come on!
Now she knows just how far he could go. But she finds it difficult to leave.
Her father begged her to leave him. When they found out what had happened in America, they begged her to get out and get out now. But she didn't. Why? Only she will know. It may be that she didn't believe it. It may be that she was too reluctant to simply walk out on the lifestyle that she'd been accustomed to.
That wealthy lifestyle is addictive. Lucy takes a gamble. Can she keep the riches and her new lover, and somehow leave Harold Landry behind?
She was a woman who was prepared to leave Harold Landry, but not the life to which she'd become accustomed, which was a high standard of living, a luxury lifestyle.
By now, Harold is aware of his wife's affair. He takes off to his Mexican vacation home for some breathing space. Lucy uses the opportunity to bring her lover into the family mansion.
She was fairly blatantly shoving the fact that she was having an affair in Harold Landry's face, almost forcing the issue.
Furious, Landry soon returns to England, his marriage now in tatters. Then, Lucy gets back on the computer. Harold's computer this time. On it, she finds naked photos he has taken of himself.
She found them on his laptop. She called him a pervert and a paedophile and all these horrendous terms and threatened to post these photographs up at the school gates where their children went to school.
It's disgusting.
I think it was just indicative of her looking for ammunition at that stage of their relationship, looking for any kind of leverage she could get over him when they came to separate.
Don't you even care about your own children?
If you think I'm paying for you to shack up with that loser, you're nuts!
You'll be in jail by the time our divorce comes through.
Harold fights back, beginning his own affair.
You are nothing but a pervert. I'm putting you on the sex offenders list.
Get out of here, you bitch!
It was almost like this game of one-upmanship that was going on.
The community needs to be warned about someone like you.
Anything you can do, I can do far worse.
Oh, you would, I know.
Harold agrees to let Lucy move out, and he will pay for her apartment on one condition.
When he asked Lucy if Gareth was going to move in with her, and he requested that Gareth pay half of the rent, she went ballistic. She wasn't going to have any of that.
I may be the slut, but you're the whore.
There was no way in his mind that he was going to continue to fund her lifestyle after what he saw was an act of betrayal on her part.
She wanted Harold's money, but she didn't want Harold.
On the evening of February 1st, 2010, Lucy Landry discovers just how far Harold can be pushed.
Whenever they were in the house, I think there was always going to be an argument.
I put those photographs all over the school and all over the community. That's what you did.
She'd reached her emotional limits to what she could stand from the dead end that she'd run her relationship down to. And H wasn't going to make it easy for her on a divorce.
But you are not getting
A fight begins that will nullify any need for divorce court. Harold Landry says he comes under attack.
I had a row. There was a push and a shove. She came at him with a knife.
I'll get you, you bastard, I tell ya!
And he picked up a rolling pin, he says, in self-defense, and hit her straight over the top of the head.
The evening ends with Lucy Landry dying on her front driveway, with that kitchen knife sticking out of her side. Harold is arrested that night and quickly admits the crime.
Harold Landry was guilty of this crime, and he admitted as much. But he claimed that she had provoked him to such an extent that he lost control of himself, and he didn't know what he was doing.
Harold claims the fight was all a blur, that he acted in self-defense. The English police find his story less than convincing.
Let us not forget what happened immediately after. What did Harold Landry do? He did not fall to his knees. He did not scream. He did not call the police. He did nothing except walk away calmly. He went to his safe. He packed up a lot of his valuables and belongings, and he drove round to his lover's house. These were not the act of a man who had blanked out, who was not in control of his emotion.
Prosecutors charge that Harold knew exactly what he was doing on that bloody February night. And forensic evidence tells the tale of Lucy Landry's desperate fight for her life.
You're a cunt!
Lucy Landry had said something to Harold Landry that had finally tipped him over the edge.
I'll make sure you never see those kids again!
He picked up a granite rolling pin and smacked her over the head with it. He picked up a kitchen knife. She staggered out and he followed her.
Harold chases her through the house, lashing out with the carving knife again and again.
And if that wasn't enough, he had then followed her out into the garden as she ran, begging for her life. And he had caught up with her and stabbed her 23 times. What the case hinged on was whether or not Harold Landry had intended to kill her or do her serious harm. He had claimed not. The reality was, when the jury decided, that he knew exactly what he was doing.
You shut your mouth now, you bitch!
And whilst all along, H said that he loved his wife, at no point during the case did he say he regretted what he did.
While the jury doesn't hear about Harold's past conviction in Louisiana, they still find him guilty of murder. The judge sentences him to 16 years in prison. He will be 79 before he is eligible for parole.
I think his wife just stopped loving him and he couldn't deal with that. And if he couldn't have her, I don't think anybody could.
He couldn't bear the thought that a wife who he had given so much to was just going to walk out. He was always in control, and he didn't like that loss of control.
It doesn't surprise me at all that Landry went someplace else and killed somebody. He thought he was invincible. He thought of himself as a rich prick. You can't touch me, I'm better than you. Or I'm past you, I'm above you.
In the lonely corners of the Pacific Northwest, rugged mountains and deep rivers hold many dark secrets. It's Wednesday morning, October 28th, 2009. Near the town of Anacortes, about an hour north of Seattle, strange things are afoot.
Dispatch 911, what's your emergency?
And someone is watching.
There's two vehicles facing back to back.
They saw a man transferring a large plastic bag from one car to another at a place where that wouldn't take place.
And it looks like somebody's got plastic or something, I don't know, between them. Did you see any people? I just saw one guy.
There's another thing hidden in those misty mountains. Money. Amazon, Boeing, Starbucks, Microsoft. They're all based in the Seattle area. It's one of the top 10 places in America where the super rich live. Super rich means you're worth 30 million plus. And one thing about the wealthy, they will pay for the very best, even for their pets.
Ichiro Suzuki from the Seattle Mariners, the head of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, and rock stars from Pearl Jam and Nirvana. What do they have in common? They all had problem pooches they brought to renowned dog trainer Mark Stover. Across the Northwest, he's known as the Dog Whisperer.
He had a great client list, and people really liked him. He was definitely a master of the dogs. And he saved a lot of dogs from being destroyed.
Mark Stover's sister Victoria has proudly watched him grow from a troubled teen to the dog trainer to the stars.
According to what I have heard, he was making $1 million a year as a dog trainer.
Behind mansion walls, even the dogs are rolling in it. In 2007, New York real estate tycoon Leona Helmsley passed away, leaving millions to her Maltese lapdog, Trouble. Miami heiress Gail Posner left an $8 million mansion to her Chihuahua Conchita. A dog that wore a $15,000 Cartier diamond necklace and a $12,000 summer wardrobe. The wealthy will pay thousands for the perfect pup, and much more to stop it doing its business on the marble staircase. That's when Seattle society would call Mark Stover.
He had an ability to talk to animals in a way that I've never seen in another human being.
Dog boarding kennel owner Guy Palumbo says Mark had a unique gift.
In my line of work, I deal with dog trainers all the time. There's a million dog trainers, but there was nobody like Mark Stover.
But on that Wednesday in October, Mark Stover couldn't be found.
He was always on time. If he wasn't on time, he would call his clients. He took very good care of his clients. He wouldn't just blow off a day of appointments.
The next day, something shows up on Mark's doorstep, and it's horrifying. Mark's personal protector, his favorite dog, Dingo.
Ding was shot. Ding went up on the porch and was bleeding, and the employees found her.
Dingo has been shot in the head, but is still alive. Police are called, and they search the house. They find blood spattered in the hallway, and in the bathroom, signs of a cleanup.
And according to police, when they entered the house, they smelled bleach. Witnesses who went into the house also smelled bleach.
It looks like a crime scene. And suddenly, a 911 call from the day before becomes a crucial clue.
Their two vehicles are facing back to back. It looked like two station wagons, and it looks like somebody...
The eyewitness saw a man acting suspiciously not far from Mark Stover's house. She took down 2 license numbers from the cars she saw. It turns out one car belongs to Mark Stover. The other car is owned by a man that police would now like to talk to, Michael Oakes.
Michael Oakes was a security expert and also worked at a computer software security firm as well. He advised people on tactics. He wrote articles about guns and ammo magazines.
In 2008, Oakes is hired by wealthy heiress Linda Updike.
Michael Oakes came out to her house, looked at her security cameras, looked at her defenses, and gave her advice.
Michael Oakes begins working with Linda Updike as a consultant.
And squeeze slowly.
He ends up securing the master bedroom.
That professional relationship started turning into a romantic one. And it wasn't too long that Michael Oakes and Linda Updike were living together.
Oakes lands quite a catch. Linda Updike is a 6-foot blonde glamazon, and her father is a multimillionaire publishing baron and winemaker.
Linda Updike grew up in a very wealthy family. She was into horses. She was a junior Olympic equestrian rider. So she came from a privileged background. Money was never an issue for Linda Updike.
On the day police discover the blood at Mark Stover's home, Michael Oakes is at Linda Updike's mountain retreat. It isn't long before the county sheriff's department comes knocking.
And deputies want to talk to Michael Oakes. He agrees. But in the meantime, before he starts talking to him, he says, "I have to get my medicine."
What happens next is shocking.
He goes out to his SUV, gets a plastic bag, and throws it over a knoll by the house. Well, one of the deputies sees that. They go out and retrieve the plastic bag. It smells like bleach. And inside is Michael Oakes' .22 caliber handgun. At that point, because of what happened, the deputies arrest him for murder.
But this case won't be so clear-cut. It's a love triangle gone wrong. And the third player is Michael Oakes' current partner, Linda Updike. She knows the missing dog trainer very well. They were married for 5 years, and it ended badly.
It was a difficult divorce, acrimonious divorce.
I know where you are.
There was a lot of anger there.
Every minute of the day.
He had a strong personality.
What the hell?
He even admitted he holds grudges.
Mark Stover is famous around Seattle for his almost magical ability to talk to dogs.
He was a truly gifted individual. He could talk to animals, they listened.
On October 28th, 2009, he disappears. And while Stover's body can't be found, there's enough evidence to charge Michael Oakes with his murder just 2 days later. Oakes was seen near Stover's home acting strangely. And shell casings found at the murder scene match a gun he tried to hide from police. But why did he do it? And did Linda Opdyke play a role? Ex-wife of the victim, current lover of the killer. Linda and Mark first meet in the early 90s.
Linda Opdyke hired Mark Stover to train her dog. And that relationship, which was professional, became emotional. And they started dating, and eventually were together for more than 14 years.
Together, they create Mark's dream, a dog training business. It's housed on a private island owned by Opdyke's millionaire father. They finally marry in 2002. But within a few years, their love turns sour. Linda accuses Mark of being aggressive and controlling.
He had a strong personality. He even admitted he holds grudges.
In 2007, they divorce. Mark Stover's dream is crushed. He doesn't take it too well.
It was a difficult divorce, acrimonious divorce. There was a lot of anger there. He had lost his footing. He was trying to understand who he was now without the love of his life, Linda.
Then, Mark goes too far.
He was a constant presence in her life, a harassing presence.
I'm watching you, you bitch.
Until one day, he was caught going through her garbage. Neighbors reported that. That was the evidence that the Okanagan County Sheriff needed to arrest him for stalking.
Mark takes a plea bargain, giving up his collection of guns and agreeing not to contact Linda, which from April 2008 on is exactly what he does.
After that conviction, Linda Opdyke says she never saw Mark Stover again.
Mark Stover seems to get over his former wife, Linda, dating again and even becoming engaged. But has he really moved on? Linda's security consultant turned lover, Michael Oakes, claims Stover turned his attention on him.
What Michael Oakes said was that Mark had been stalking him for months and showing up apparently at a couple of places.
As he stands trial for murder, Michael Oakes explains how he came to be at Mark Stover's house on the morning of the shooting. He says the dog whisperer became obsessed with getting his wedding photos back from Linda Opdyke.
I want my wedding photos back, man.
According to Michael Oakes, one day, Mark Stover showed up.
Your daughter looks nice in yellow. I see you wearing it all the time.
Threatening that he would do something against Michael Oakes' children if he didn't get these wedding photos back.
Well, I want my wedding photos back.
Mark Stover was obsessed with these wedding photos that he had with Linda Opdyke.
According to Michael Oakes' testimony, my brother had called him over for a meeting. First thing in the morning.
He claims that he went over to Mark Stover's house to make one final plea that he didn't have the wedding photos. And that was what the meeting was all about.
For that breakfast chat, Michael Oakes arms himself with a pistol and wears a bulletproof vest. He says he was terrified of Stover.
Michael Oakes said he went into Mark's house. Mark invited him in.
You just wait there, I'll put the dog out.
He stated in his story that my brother comes around the corner and shoots him nearly point blank. After that, Michael Oakes wrestles my brother to the ground and somehow shoots my brother with my brother's own gun.
Oakes claims that Stover's dog Dingo tries to attack him as he leaves, so he shoots her.
Michael Oakes admits to shooting Mark Stover in self-defense. But what to do with the body? He then takes the body out in a plastic bag, puts it in Mark Stover's own station wagon, drives a half-mile where his SUV is, puts the body in his own SUV, and two women see that happen, that he had the body.
Oakes says he drives around in a panic, thinking no one will believe his story. Then he dumps the body into the icy depths of the Swinomish Channel.
It's very easy to hide a body in this state. In the land, in the rivers, in the ocean. We've had serial murderers here, and they still haven't found all the bodies.
Michael Oakes tells the court that it was simply a meeting that went terribly wrong. A deadly surprise attack that he was fortunate to survive. But how big a surprise was it? Investigators find a receipt in Oakes' car. He'd gone to the mall at 5:30 a.m. on the morning of the murder.
There's security footage showing that he bought camouflage pants, he bought ankle weights, he bought rope, and a knapsack.
Camouflage clothes, weights, 100 feet of rope. Strange supplies for a social call. Perfect supplies for murder.
Michael Oakes went over with the intent to kill my brother and did so in cold blood.
When rock stars and celebrities knocked on the door of the dog whisperer, they came for his unique ways with animals. But when Michael Oakes came to visit, he had something else on his mind.
Showing up with a bulletproof vest, a 9mm handgun. Is that what you bring to a meeting?
Police found Oakes' bulletproof vest in his car. It becomes one of the key points in his defense.
Michael Oakes made the allegation in court that Mark Stover shot first. Michael Oakes was wearing a Kevlar vest, and right in the middle of the vest was a slug, right straight at the heart.
But is that shot right to the heart all a bit too neat? Prosecutors have their own theory about how that vest was hit.
The prosecution claimed that may not have happened because the slug was so perfect right in the middle of the Kevlar vest. They surmised that that was done after the murder by Michael Oakes' gun.
Oakes says he was frightened of Mark Stover and prepared for a surprise attack. But in CCTV footage taken just before the fatal meeting, Oakes is seen buying some unusual provisions at 5:30 a.m.
Before he went to Mark's house, he stopped off and got weights, anchor weights, also a large line that you could use to tie things up.
Oakes has a bizarre explanation for his pre-dawn shopping spree. If chased by Mark Stover's guard dog, he would quickly change into the camouflage gear, run through the forest, and use a rope to climb a nearby water tower. When asked how he expected to outrun a highly trained attack dog, he simply says, "I'm very fast."
Authorities believe Michael Oakes stalked his victim prior to the murder. 4 days before the shooting, CCTV at Linda Opdyke's home captures a curious scene. Oakes carries rifle cases out of the house, and Linda gives him quite a farewell.
Security footage caught the two of them in a passionate embrace, a long goodbye.
So it seemed like he was aware of the gravity of where he was going and what he was doing.
Linda Opdyke had originally hired Michael Oakes to protect her from her ex-husband.
She was claiming that Mark Stover was continuing to harass her via phone calls, showing up at her house unannounced, stalking her, going through her garbage.
You never call me again.
She needed some protection.
And now, Michael Oakes is charged with the murder of Linda's ex-husband. Was that what she wanted? Is this the goodbye to a man being sent on a mission? In court, both Michael and Linda say that she had no idea where Michael was going on this day.
Linda Opdyke said that that's how they always said goodbye. That was anything different. It wasn't this, I'm going off to war kind of a goodbye. I may never come back kind of goodbye.
There is no evidence to connect Linda Opdyke to her ex-husband's murder. Michael Oakes also says he's innocent, even though he covers his tracks like a killer.
Michael Oakes threw away or destroyed every piece of evidence that would have proven his story. We don't have the weapon. We don't have the body. We don't even have the clothes that Michael was wearing at the time of the murder, which would have had a hole in them had my brother shot them. Anything that would have proven Michael's case is somehow disappeared.
And the wedding pictures that Mark Stover was supposed to be so angry about, they weren't missing at all.
That was one of the first things I found, was a box of wedding pictures. So they were at the house. I don't understand this story about the wedding pictures.
What's left behind is a compelling case for the prosecution.
What the prosecution and the police said in the court case was that Michael Oakes came to the house. Mark Stover had an attack dog named Dingo.
My brother let Ding out. Michael Oakes shot the dog.
Michael Oakes confronted Mark Stover in the front driveway.
What the hell?
And then he went in after my brother. And I think Michael Oakes just shot him right there. I think Michael shot him in the back or the back of the head.
Michael Oakes' highly paid defense team had once represented Ted Bundy. Today, they can't stop an infectious feeling growing in the courtroom.
The sequence of events, in terms of the camouflage, in terms of what he did when, didn't seem to make a lot of sense.
In the end, the jury did not believe his story. The judge didn't believe his story. His story had a lot of holes in it.
After 3.5 days of deliberation, the jury returns with its verdict: guilty.
The judge, who publicly said he didn't buy his story, gave him the maximum in this state, which is 26.5 years.
No charges are filed against Linda Opdyke.
Linda Opdyke said Michael Oakes was never a hitman, and the Opdyke family has said that they have no connection or have nothing to do with him being a hitman.
In sentencing, the judge searched for the reason Michael Oakes killed. He thought Oakes saw himself as a modern-day knight setting out to slay a dragon for his princess. Cute story, but it leaves many questions unanswered. One is, just where is Mark Stover's body? Divers searched the area where Michael Oakes says he dumped Mark's corpse. They found nothing, and even the judge in the case says he doesn't believe that he was dumped anywhere near there.
Nobody knows right now where Mark Stover's body is.
One thing I regret not doing is when I asked the judge, where is my brother's body? I regret that I didn't turn and look at Michael Oakes and ask him, where is my brother?
For Mark's sister Victoria, not having a body to bury just adds to the terrible pain of losing her brother.
I think when we lose someone, one of the things that causes us the most pain is we are afraid that that person is going to be forgotten. I think we really strive to make sure that that person is remembered. To not have a marker on this earth to indicate that he ever was here is really difficult. I understand the difficulty that the families of the prisoners of war go through who have never found their loved ones. It just not having a marker puts more pain into the idea of they'll not be remembered. They won't have a place here. And I think that's the most painful part for everybody.
And the biggest question that nags at those involved with this case is still why? If Michael Oakes wasn't acting in self-defense, why did he kill Mark Stover?
If Mark Stover was moving on and wasn't harassing Linda Updike anymore, there was no reason for Michael Oakes to go over there to confront him about pictures that supposedly he told him he didn't have. I don't think there's closure in this case because people don't understand why he did this, the real reason why he did this.
I believe that Michael Oakes will tell his story. My understanding is that he was raised in faith. He took a man's life. That sort of a sin is going to weigh heavy on him. And I do believe that he will come forward. After all, what did he get out of the deal?
They say you can't buy love, but you can pay a heavy price for chasing it. Harold Landry tried to buy a second chance at happiness, but he could never trade in his darker self. And Michael Oakes masqueraded as the knight in shining armor. It cost an innocent man's life. In the end, their lives came down to a devilish decision. The choice was theirs, to kiss or kill. Till next we meet behind mansion walls, I'm Christopher Mason.
It appeared execution style. Each was shot with at least one shot to the base of the skull.
Who's killing off a wealthy Southern dynasty?
I'm the last member of my family, and that makes me a suspect.
And later, a tragic family massacre.
Awful, horrendous family tragedy.
But which sibling pulled the trigger?
We are looking at one of the gravest miscarriages of justice in modern times.
I'm Christopher Mason. They say blood is thicker than water, but when a vast fortune is at stake, family ties fly out the window, and poisonous envy comes to roost.
police officers stared death in the face.
I saw glass flying, and I heard the sound. What else can it be? It's a machine gun.
A car chase like no other.
We couldn't afford to shoot because those children was in there.
And a memory they will never shake.
I was more mad than anything, you know. I couldn't believe what was happening.
It was just there one instant. And then this huge explosion, and it was just gone.
There came a storm, thunder and lightning and all that. It just looked like the Lord was mad at it, being mad at everything. Mad at the whole situation.
In North Carolina high society, they call the sweet aroma of tobacco the smell of money. The riches of big tobacco built the city of Winston-Salem. And they built a great local dynasty, the Newsome family.
Okay, y'all looking, everybody? Ready?
Pride of their brood is daughter Susie.
Her grandfather was in tobacco. Her father was working for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco.
All right, stop, don't move, don't move.
There was a well-known family in the area, and her mother was also a Sharp, which was another well-known family there. Her sister was the state Supreme Court Chief Justice.
Susie probably thought she was destined to be that Southern belle. She was an attractive young woman, came from a well-to-do family.
Okay.
In 1966, at Wake Forest University, she meets a handsome man preparing for dental school, Tom Lynch.
It wasn't like mad, passionate love. It was just like, you know, they're from a nice family, you're from a nice family, you get married and live happily ever after.
Their marriage produces two boys, John and Jim.
They were both very smart, good-looking, both athletic. They both had good senses of humor.
In 1976, Tom Lynch moves his young family out west to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Tom sees the growing city as the perfect place to set up a new dental practice. His wife Susie calls it lower class, not the kind of city that's right for her. And ever since childhood, temperamental Susie always got her way.
She didn't really like it out here because she had no family. And, of course, we were struggling. And, I don't know, things just kind of drifted apart. Finally, it was just a matter of can't do it anymore, you know. So she took off in '79.
After only 3 years out west, Susie returns home to North Carolina with sons John and Jim.
Within a few years, the separation turns into a bitter custody battle. But Susie's family connections make it a one-sided fight. When your aunt is a former Supreme Court Chief Justice, you've got the Southern establishment in your corner.
Tom's visitation rights with his sons dwindled to just 4 weeks a year.
I became kind of a Disneyland dad, you know, when they came out, I'd take a few days off and we'd go to the Grand Canyon or we'd take a little trip somewhere. And that's about all I could do.
In the spiteful custody fight, Tom's ex-wife becomes fixated on two imagined enemies. One is Tom. The other is his mother, Dolores, a wealthy widow living in Kentucky. Susie and Dolores have been at each other's throats since the day they met.
She was pretty tough, and I don't think she liked Susie from the get-go, and vice versa. And so maybe she recognized something in her that I didn't.
Then, in July 1984, Tom is at work at his dental practice when a policeman arrives.
First he said there was an accident, and then he said your mother and sister appears to be a robbery and they had been murdered. I just said, what happened? I mean, what what the heck happened? Who would do that to my mother and sister?
Dolores, she had been shot one time in the head and one time in the back.
Back in Kentucky, Lieutenant Dan Davidson is called to the Lynch family home north of Louisville.
Jane Lynch, we found her inside the house. She'd also been shot in the back and the head.
Not what you expect to see in this end of town.
This isn't a place where this happens. There just wasn't any leads at all, you know.
And this isn't looking at all like a robbery.
Looked like an execution style, you know.
Police are mystified. A wealthy mother and daughter with no known enemies, just executed.
Didn't take anything. Didn't even make it look like a robbery. Just left.
Making things tougher, the killer picked up used shell casings.
We didn't find one case. They should have been 4 of them, and we didn't find any.
One thing is left behind, a bullet that passed through Jane's neck and into a window frame.
We had the crime lab come in, and that bullet turned out to be the most important piece.
Police need to eliminate suspects. First on the list, Tom Lynch.
Tom was a sole surviving member of that family, and the family was quite well off, you know.
Suddenly it dawned on me that I'm the last member of my family, and that makes me a suspect.
We took him to give him a polygraph and run through the ringer for a while. We even checked on the possibility of him hiring somebody to do it.
Tom Lynch can't even bury his loved ones without the gaze of suspicion.
I can remember going to the funeral, and I remember sitting at this little church my mom went to out in the country, and there were all these older people, you know, sitting around there. And then I'm sitting there thinking they all thought that I probably had something to do with this. And I was just like so helpless, you know, so angry and so helpless. And it was an awful thing, you know.
A polygraph test clears Tom's name, and the case goes cold. In North Carolina, Tom Lynch's ex-wife, Susie, has a new man in her life. Fritz Klenner has close links to Susie's family, the Newsomes. Very close links.
She was beginning to see Fritz, who happened to be her first cousin.
And with Cousin Fritz, not everything is as it seems.
Fritz had been masquerading as a physician. He ran around his doctor's office in a white smock giving injections.
Fritz is obsessed with copying his father, a prominent local doctor.
He had passed himself off as a physician, and he had helped his father in the clinic, and I really don't know if he had a degree in anything.
Susie's new lover has her parents, Bob and Florence, worried. He's her cousin for a start, and he has always had a dark fascination for guns and spy-style intrigue. They tell Tom Lynch they'll testify on his behalf in his legal fight to see more of his sons.
They want to do whatever they can do to smooth over the situation, and they want everything to work out okay.
And then, in May 1985, 1 week before the next visitation hearing, the unthinkable happens.
Did you hear that?
Turns out that Saturday night, somebody went to the Newsome house and murdered Bob, Florence, his wife, and his mother.
In Winston-Salem, North Carolina, everyone knows the old mansion of the Newsome family.
This was a big house and kind of a neat old place, you know, at the edge of town.
It all seems so peaceful.
I do remember.
But without even realizing it, the Newsomes have set a deadly storm in motion.
Well, somebody just walked in and shot them all up.
is this? What are you doing here?
His wife, Florence. His mother, Hattie. Shot coldly and carefully.
It appeared execution style. Each was shot with at least one shot to the chest with what appeared to be a finishing shot at either the head or the base of the skull.
The rambling mansion, scene of so many joyous Thanksgivings and Christmases, is now a house of horrors. The killers meticulously cover their tracks, but one little misstep leaves a gruesome clue. It's on the ring finger of Florence Newsome.
Mrs. Newsome, her ring finger had been cut in order to remove her diamond ring, and her throat had also been slashed as well. For some reason, she seemed to be quite a bit more of a target for the perpetrator than anyone else did.
That kind of violent hate says this attack may have been personal. And Bob Newsome has a cryptic message beside his body.
There were some papers that had been taken from a briefcase that belonged to Mr. Newsome, and they were in the floor near Mr. Newsome's body, and someone had actually set them on fire and burned them to an ash.
Another clue is in the absence of clues.
There were several bullet rounds expended in the houses, .45 caliber rounds. There was probably as many as 10 or 11 shots fired in the house, and we only found 2 spent casings.
The killer had carefully collected the spent shells. Detective Sergeant Alan Gentry knows that is not the mark of your average criminal.
Whoever had done these murders was cold and calculating enough to try to pick up and secure those because we can match those to a particular weapon.
When Tom Lynch hears the shocking news about his former in-laws, it sounds all too horrifyingly familiar. Just 10 months ago, his mother and sister had been killed the same way, shot in the back of the head. In their own home, by a killer who cleans up the shell casings. And the deadly connection between the 2 murdered families, Tom's ex-wife Susie and her new love, Fritz Klenner.
I said, I know who did this. I said, Fritz Klenner did this. I said, listen, this guy is with my ex-wife and my kids, and I fear for my kids right up and including their lives.
For Kentucky Detective Dan Davidson, the link between the 2 family executions seems clear.
That information about the Newsomes is too funny for them to get killed about the same way, you know.
Susie seemed to be the link that we really needed to look at pretty quickly.
But when police arrange to interview Susie, she goes for coffee instead.
Like, you're gonna go have coffee with a girlfriend instead of meeting with officers that are trying to find the murderer of your mother, father, and grandmother. A little bizarre.
Eventually, Susie tells police just who the killer is. It's a man whom she has become fixated on with hate. Her ex-husband, Tom Lynch.
She put all the blame at that time on her estranged husband, thought he had gambling debts.
Alongside her during the interview is her cousin Fritz.
Don't you believe me?
Fritz Klenner was present for that first interview. He introduced himself as a physician. When challenged, he curtly told us that he was not licensed in the state of North Carolina. After we interviewed Susie, we felt like her cousin was playing an integral role in her life and this relationship.
And when police quiz a friend of Fritz, they get a major break.
Fritz had told him that he was a contract operative for the CIA, and part of his job was to actually kill or assassinate known drug dealers.
The friend has a confession. He dropped Fritz near the Newsome house on the day of the murders.
At that point, we were alarmed enough, felt like that we had to go ahead and take action. But that turned out to be a little tougher than we thought.
We went to where Susie's apartment was and had it under surveillance.
Before police can make their move, Fritz Klenner makes his, driving off with Susie and Tom Lynch's young sons.
And that's when the chase started and everything happened.
We got right behind him. He got up to a red light, and the next thing he did was start firing at us and everybody around the intersection with a Uzi.
Very few officers in this country have seen fully automatic gunfire in front of them. There's almost a sense of disbelief. I saw glass flying and I heard the sound. What else can it be? It's a machine gun.
And Fritz Klenner hasn't finished yet.
What we were trying to coordinate was the highway patrol to set up a roadblock to try to stop him that way.
Dispatch, need a roadblock 2 miles up the highway. We've got a dangerous van.
We were trying to arrange that roadblock when he decided to detonate a bomb in the vehicle.
And it just blew up. It seemed like it just disappeared from the highway.
There was debris everywhere.
First saw Susie. She was blowed in two. Fritz, laying about 20 feet away from her, he was alive. I tried to get a dying declaration out of him or something. And a few minutes later, he died too.
And inside the wreckage, John and Jim Lynch, aged 8 and 10, both dead. Only weeks later will the detectives discover an awful twist in this tale.
We found out later after an autopsy that they had been poisoned with cyanide.
Apparently the cyanide wasn't working fast enough. And Susie just turned around there and shot them both in the head.
A mother's final selfish act.
It wasn't going to turn out the way that she wanted it to. Then she's going to use her next option. And, you know, if I can't have them, nobody will.
He thought he could outsmart the police. But Fritz Klenner's careful executions did leave clues. Ballistics evidence matches a bullet from the Lynch murders to a rifle he sold to a gun shop. It's enough for a Kentucky grand jury to find Fritz and Susie responsible for the killings of Dolores and Jane Lynch. The reasons for Susie's deadly killings are harder for the law to resolve.
I think Susie became a hateful person over the years.
This is what you get.
Why she killed the boys? Just spite. She didn't want me to have them. She didn't want them around.
The incredible hatred that she had for her estranged husband, to the point that you would destroy your own children, is just a normal, rational person just simply cannot comprehend that sort of mental state.
And the best thing I ever did was bring them back here to bury them. They all wanted me to bury them there, and I just said, you know, I can't bury them here in this place. They're coming home with me, so I brought them back.
A phone call in the dead of night rarely brings good news.
Around 3:15 in the morning, His father phoned him and said, "Come over quickly. Sheila's got a gun. She's gone berserk."
Shocked from his sleep, Jeremy Bamber desperately phones police.
My father's just called. He said my sister's gone berserk.
It was just an awful, horrendous family tragedy.
In the English county of Essex, about 2 hours east of London, is the quaint village of Tolleshunt-Darcy.
It's a small community with its own parish church, the village shop. So it was a solid local community and obviously farming orientated.
In Tolleshunt-Darcy, Neville and June Bamber are well-to-do and well-known.
Boys, sit up straight.
Neville Bamber was a pillar of the local establishment. He had been a church warden. He was on the local magistrate's bench. June was very involved in church affairs.
Bless us, O Lord.
And no doubt they were well known in the neighborhood.
The White House Farm is the Bamber family's impressive country home.
They were wealthy farmers. Neville Bamber was a successful farmer, came from a farming family.
They owned lots of land in the area, most of which had been passed down from June's father. He was the great landowner in the area, so they were very well-to-do.
But Neville and June Bamber have a vexing problem. These well-heeled landowners are unable to have children. So who will inherit the Bamber name and fortune?
Bless our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Unfortunately, Neville and June couldn't have children, which is why they adopted, first of all, Sheila and then Jeremy.
In August 1985, 28-year-old daughter Sheila is living back in her parents' home.
She was divorced. The marriage had lasted about 5 years. She had 2 6-year-old twin sons.
Her strict religious mother, June, does not approve.
Sheila and her mother did not get on.
Not with your fingers, please.
June disapproved very much of Sheila's lifestyle, conceiving before marriage, 2 abortions. There was much in Sheila's private life that June was very unhappy about.
Son Jeremy is 24. He lives a few minutes down the road in a separate farmhouse owned by his father.
I think always felt scarred by the fact he'd been adopted. And he seemed to want to attract attention to himself, and he liked to shock people.
So is the medication helping?
He liked to bait his mother, provoke her, by saying outrageous things.
How dare you bring that up?
What's wrong with asking her that? It's inappropriate.
Neville and June Bamber do not have the happy family they once dreamed of.
What's medication? It's medicine, honey.
Daughter Sheila has had a troubled life and a troubled mind.
Sheila had been diagnosed with a schizoaffective disorder, which meant she would have disordered thinking.
A young beauty, Sheila had a brief career in front of the camera.
She was a former model, but she hadn't done any modeling in the last 5 years.
Her mental illness cut that modeling career short.
Sheila had certainly had a number of psychotic episodes where she simply hadn't been in control of herself.
She was very religious. She thought a lot about God and the devil. She had talked with her psychiatrist about the fact that she was potentially suicidal.
And it seems that in the early hours of August 7th, 1985, Sheila Bamber's mad visions finally became real.
You have to help me. My father's just called. He said my sister's gone berserk. She's got a gun. There. See that? So
Just before 4 a.m., Jeremy Bamber meets police outside the White House farm. Everyone is on edge.
The police and Jeremy went up to the house to have a look at it. And it was this stage they saw movement in the window.
I saw a shadow.
There. I think I saw.
Clearly, they were being told that something very dangerous and very serious was going on here. If there was someone with a loaded gun killing people.
3.5 hours later, armed backup arrives and police decide it's safe to go inside. There, they find a scene of unimaginable violence.
Neville was first shot while he was upstairs. And then he staggered downstairs, leaving some blood on the wall of the stairs, into the kitchen, and there he was fatally killed, fatally shot.
Upstairs, Sheila Bamber's twin sons, Nicholas and Daniel, lie dead in their beds. One still sucking his thumb.
All the evidence is that they were shot in their sleep, and thank God knew nothing about it.
And in the master bedroom, June Bamber.
June had been shot first lying in bed. She then got up and walked towards the bedroom door, where she was fatally shot.
Also, near June on the floor is her adopted daughter, Sheila.
The rifle was resting against her chin, and there was blood trickling from her face.
It looks like a tragic murder-suicide.
Tragically, Sheila completely flipped it. She shot her children, shot her mother, killed her father, and then turned the gun on herself.
Had Sheila's inner demons finally taken over?
I think all the police officers on the scene, together with the police doctor and the pathologist, they were all writing their notes up that this was 4 murders and a suicide. An open and shut case.
Tragic, horrific, but straightforward. A grieving Jeremy Bamber is allowed to bury his parents, sister, and nephews. Case closed. Or so they thought.
Yes, hello. I'm calling up about the Bamber murders.
Sheila Bamber had long battled the voices in her head.
Very troubled indeed, very troubled. She had all sorts of illusions. She thought that the devil had conceived her children.
The one-time fashion model was diagnosed a paranoid schizophrenic. And it seems that on August 7th, 1985, the voices took control.
I think the crime itself was utterly extraordinary.
Sheila!
You had 5 members of the family shot dead in this farmhouse one August evening.
Her parents and twin sons murdered. And finally, she takes her own life.
She was so disturbed. She just wasn't rational, poor girl.
The sole survivor in the family is Sheila's younger brother, Jeremy. When he buries his family, his grief is on display for the world to see.
Three days after the murders, the Bamber relatives conduct their own search of White House Farm. In the downstairs office, Jeremy's cousin opens a closet, and lying at the back, he finds a tiny piece of evidence that will transform this case.
It's a silencer that fits the rifle used in the murders. On it are tiny specks of Sheila's blood and a hair. If it was a murder that ended with a suicide, then how did the silencer get down here?
Was she supposed to have taken the silencer off and put it carefully away in the downstairs cupboard and then gone back upstairs to kill herself? That the whole thing didn't make sense at that stage.
Tests also show that with the silencer attached to the murder weapon, Sheila could never have put the muzzle under her chin and reached the trigger.
Sheila would not have been able to operate the gun to kill herself with the sound moderator on it, which obviously made it far lengthier than it normally was.
And an even bigger question is, could Sheila have used a gun at all?
All the relatives said that Sheila had no knowledge or experience of using guns, and wouldn't have been able to use guns, let alone reload them.
This was a very efficient shooting. 25 shots fired, 24 hit their target.
Had Sheila carried out the crimes, I just don't think there would have been that sort of ratio of shots on target.
As the murder-suicide theory is questioned, Jeremy Bamber is off enjoying his inheritance.
Jeremy went away the weekend after the killings. He then went away to Amsterdam for a few days with his girlfriend and another friend.
Next, Jeremy skips to Saint-Tropez in the south of France, the vacation playground of the European jet set.
I think he imagined himself as a small-scale playboy. He certainly liked the good life.
Then the police get a phone call from Bamber's ex-girlfriend, Julie.
What she showed was a completely sinister side to Jeremy Bamber.
Yes, hello. I'm calling up about the Bamber murders.
How he had developed this loathing for his family and was working out ways in which he could kill them all.
And even as police found the bodies in his parents' house, Jeremy gloated to her.
I should have been an actor.
Did you do it?
Yeah, I did it.
She said that he'd considered various plans for murdering his family. Was he going to burn the house down? Was he going to poison them? And so he had, as it were, thought through various plans before alighting on this one.
When Jeremy Bamber returns from the south of France, he is arrested.
As Jeremy is driven to the police station, he sits quietly in the back of the car, remarking only how lovely the weather has been during his stay in Saint-Tropez, and wondering why the police didn't send a more comfortable car to pick him up in.
In October 1986, Jeremy Bamber faces trial for 5 counts of murder. The prosecution presents a terrifying version of what happened that night in the White House farm.
In the house that night, it just must have been absolute hell.
One theory is that Jeremy, an avid diver, wore a wetsuit so he could shower afterwards and have no blood or hair on himself.
Jeremy kills his 6-year-old nephews first. And then he confronts his parents.
Never. Bring the police. What is it? Bring the police. There's something happening. Oh, Jeremy!
And they must have known at that point that it was a fight to the death. He was determined to kill them. Never wasn't going to lie down and die, and he obviously put up a fantastic struggle. That's clear from the injuries that he suffered. After Jeremy had killed the father, he then killed the mother and then Sheila.
Jeremy, no! Jeremy! Please, don't do it. Please.
Jeremy rushes home and raises the alarm, claiming his father had called him in a
You have to help
panic.
me. My father's just called. He said, my sister's gone berserk. She's got a gun. Dad, did you see that?
Then he brazenly returns to the crime scene and helps plant his version of events in the minds of police.
He was, as it were, directing and shaping events as they unfolded throughout the night.
She's a nutter.
Jeremy had done his job so well on the officers in the nighttime. They all stormed the house expecting to find 4 dead people and a woman who'd committed suicide.
By the next day, the police had made their verdict: murder-suicide. Jeremy Bamber thought he had committed the perfect crime and opened the door to the life of luxury he desired.
Jeremy seemed to have been the only member of this family who hankered for an extravagant lifestyle. He didn't like the relatively austere lifestyle that the Bamber family lived.
After a 19-day trial, the jury has to make its decision. Were these killings the work of a schizophrenic daughter or a psychopathic son? They decide that it's the son.
The trial judge described him as evil almost beyond belief and sentenced him to a minimum of 25 years.
Under new laws introduced in the 1990s, Jeremy's sentence is extended to life without parole, a sentence the English reserve for the worst of the worst.
There was a list of about 25 names of people who were never going to be released, and Jeremy Bamber was on that list.
But there's a problem. Jeremy Bamber may be an innocent man.
If Jeremy Bamber is innocent, we are looking at one of the gravest miscarriages of justice in modern times.
Her Majesty's Prison, Full Sutton, York, England. The home of Jeremy Bamber, convicted of 5 murders, described as evil beyond belief. He has been locked up for 25 years. But should he be?
We have so much evidence that suggests that the full story given at trial is not really entirely what happened.
In 2003, English politician Andrew Hunter received a letter from Jeremy Bamber declaring his innocence.
Originally, I gave Jeremy 6 months when I'd read everything he wanted me to read about his case. I decided that his conviction was unsound, and I've now been studying the case for 8 years.
Andrew Hunter is convinced that Sheila Bamber, in a fit of madness, killed her family and then herself.
All the evidence is that Sheila was heading for an episode, a major episode, of her paranoid schizophrenia. And that in that state of mind, she killed her sons, whom she thought had been fathered by the devil, her mother, with whom she had a very tumultuous relationship, and her father.
He claims that Jeremy Bamber was framed.
Jeremy was found guilty on evidence compiled by the police and provided by his relatives.
His theory is Bamber's relatives did this so they could claim the White House farm for themselves.
If Jeremy was found guilty of this crime, he would not have inherited the estate, and the estate would have gone to some or all of his close relatives.
From prison, Jeremy Bamber has also reached out to journalist Bob Woffenden, a renowned advocate in miscarriage of justice cases.
The telephone conversations I've had with Jeremy would suggest that he's very plausible and absolutely earnest and passionately determined to try to establish his innocence. I thought there was very serious doubt about the case.
The main problem is the initial police investigation. It was a night of confusion in a quiet rural area, and the quick assessment of the crime scene as murder-suicide meant some forensic evidence was lost.
The incompetence of the original investigation was the reason why he was able to make such a powerful plea about his innocence. He could easily go back to documents and find flaws and discrepancies all over the place that led people to think, well, maybe something's gone wrong here.
But as Bob Woffenden pored over the documents, he felt the many contradictions raised by Jeremy were simply human errors. What he did begin to see was a bigger picture that convinced him once and for all that Jeremy Bamber was the killer.
There are only 2 possibilities. Either he did it or Sheila did it. It couldn't have been Sheila because of all the circumstances, because she didn't have the physical strength to overcome her father, because she didn't have the muscular coordination to fire the guns, even if she knew how to fire the guns anyway. Once you've eliminated Sheila, then it has to be him.
Forensic psychologist Professor Catherine Ramsland agrees that Sheila Bamber is an unlikely killer, despite her mental illness.
At no time had she acted out aggressively, so we really don't have any background in her that would indicate she would suddenly have a psychotic break and begin shooting everybody. I would say it's possible that Sheila killed her family and committed suicide, but it's not plausible.
And just when it seems every turn in the story is complete, another twist. In early 2012, ballistics experts analyzed the silencer that helped convict Bamber. They conclude that it may not have been used in the murders. The killer could have been the daughter, Sheila. So does that make Jeremy Bamber an innocent man?
The silencer has been a contentious piece of evidence. Jeremy Bamber's supporters allege it was a plant.
It certainly looks very strongly that the police were in league with the family to secure Jeremy's conviction.
His opponents disagree, contending it proves that Sheila could never have killed the Bamber family.
Sheila could not have shot herself with the silencer on, as the silencer had been discovered in the cupboard downstairs.
But journalist Bob Woffenden says other pieces of evidence are just as powerful. After the murders, eyewitnesses reported that Neville Bamber had spoken about his fear that Jeremy would kill him.
There were a few allusions to the fact that he was very worried about Jeremy and had apparently said things like, "I must never turn my back on that young man."
Jeremy, no! Jeremy!
And Jeremy's plan to make his sister's death look like a suicide hit a major hurdle.
Shut up!
When his first shot failed to kill her.
We do have cases of suicides who managed to shoot themselves twice, but from the blood spatter on her clothing, it did not look as if she had shot herself, not died, walked around, and then shot herself again, which was the theory proposed. So there are a number of things that would go against the plausibility of her being the killer.
You don't usually need 2 bullets to commit suicide if you're shooting yourself in the head.
When police found Sheila, she was lying with the rifle by her side and a Bible.
But the Bible was not hers. The Bible had belonged to her mother, had been in a cupboard. If a religious person is contemplating suicide and they're going to bring a Bible to lie there with them, they're going to get their own because it has meaning to them. There are passages that have meaning to them. Instead, it was her mother's Bible that she would have had to go find in a cupboard. It wasn't something right to hand. And so I think that makes it look as if it were a staged suicide.
Then there is Neville Bamber's desperate call to Jeremy on the night of the killings.
God,
Jeremy said later that his father didn't want to cause a fuss with the law. Bob Woffenden doesn't buy it.
Your sister's gone berserk. She's got a gun.
Neville Bamber was a local magistrate. He was used to dealing with the police. The idea that at a moment of drama, in a life and death situation like that he would not have phoned the police is, I'm afraid, incredible. And that has always been a flaw in his story from the outset, and it remains a flaw to this day.
But Jeremy Bamber has never stopped claiming his innocence, running a 25-year-long battle from prison to have his conviction overturned.
There's a particular form of narcissism that we call narcissistic immunity. And that is a person who thinks they're so special and so much greater than anybody else that they have a destiny. He has made statements like, "I can't envision that I won't win this." He memorizes the minutia of the crime and looks for any little gap or hole or ambiguity that he can turn in his favor. because he believes by force of personality, he will make this work.
Jeremy Bamber has made 3 appeals against his conviction. Each one has been dismissed. His supporters maintain a serious injustice must be undone.
I'm one of those people who have studied the case very carefully, very closely over many years, and I believe we are witnessing here one of the gravest miscarriages of justice in recent times.
Others, including the jury, firmly believe that Jeremy Bamber is in exactly the right place.
Well, he's undoubtedly a psychopath. In some ways, I suppose he's quite a charming psychopath, and he has persuaded lots and lots of people that he's innocent. The killer ultimately was Jeremy. It's clear that it can't possibly have been anyone else.
Some people will kill to protect a blood tie. Others prefer the family's cash. Susie Lynch eliminated her loved ones in a bloody fit of spite, while Jeremy Bamber keeps everyone guessing. Is he a killer or a victim? With a large inheritance at stake, blood no longer seems thicker than water, and family ties so easily come undone. Till next we meet behind mansion walls, I'm Christopher Mason.
In our first story, Behind Mansion Walls,
911. What's the problem there?
lovers on horseback take a deadly ride.
What are you doing?
She was really all about the money.
She was not going to let this golden goose get away.
And later,
he had started taking birth control pills to try to enhance his breast size.
murder opens a closet full of secrets.
The person on the other end of the phone is telling me that his sister's dying in his arms.
I'm Christopher Mason. The end of a marriage can be a dirty business. With some wealthy people, money comes first, love comes second, and respect for human life, not even a distant third. Faced with losing millions, these husbands and wives chose death before divorce.
What's the problem there?
Stab wound.
Who was stabbed?
Me.
Who stabbed you?
My wife.
Did she do it intentionally?
Yes.
Were you involved in an argument? Sir? Sir?
Those were some of the last words spoken by Dr. Peter Franklin, a man most considered a pillar of his community. But as Peter's life ebbs away on his front lawn, his wife is making her own 911 call. If what she says is true, the night's next casualty will be the good doctor's reputation.
Bainbridge, Ohio. If you make good money in nearby Cleveland, you buy a nice place for your horses out here.
We don't have a lot of murders in this county. We're contiguous to a larger metropolitan area being Cleveland. Large homes, mansions outside. People have large farms here and more of a bedroom community.
And for many years, if you fell off your horse in these fields, You might go and see Dr. Peter Franklin.
Peter's family was very wealthy.
Take a seat.
And he had quite a large inheritance.
He was raised in New York City in finest of schooling, the kind of guy who appreciated helping other people and being a doctor.
Okay.
When Dr. Franklin isn't at his family practice, he's often out riding with his new wife, Sandra.
Hey, how you doing over this morning?
Peter was divorced. He had a passion for horses, and Sandra was teaching horseback riding lessons.
How about that special place?
And they were both frequent riders. She was 20 years younger than him, and she was a cute, small, attractive person. She always dated very wealthy people, and she glommed onto him right away.
When the two met, it was a thunderstorm. It came together very quickly. It was fast and furious. And within weeks, I believe they were engaged. In months, they were married.
Wealthy doctor, attractive younger wife. A happy life in the country. Nothing strange here. But at Dr. Franklin's office, something a little strange is going on.
I worked for Dr. Franklin for probably 22 years.
In that time, Dr. Franklin built a popular family practice. But in 2003, the atmosphere begins to change.
He dropped out of going to the hospital, didn't go see patients at the hospital. It was all a drug machine over there.
The drug machine is what Dr. Franklin's practice becomes. A cash-only business focused on issuing prescriptions for addictive pain medication. In the medical profession, they call it a script mill.
Can I do you for?
The pain addiction practice was a lot more profitable because basically once you have a patient that's hooked on a narcotic, they need it, and it's very hard to get weaned off of it, and they basically become addicted, and they have to keep coming back and coming back.
Some of Dr. Franklin's patients are addicts, and others are pushers.
You had some people who were there and getting large quantities of these drugs just so they could sell them on the street because they would produce 15, 20, 50 times what they were paying per tablet at the drugstore. So it was an easy way for them to get the drug and then move it on the street.
And when those drugs hit the streets, it starts to draw the attention of law enforcement.
We found in our investigations that a lot of times the drugs that were getting out in the street were all sourcing back to individuals who were getting prescriptions from Dr. Franklin.
According to Dr. Franklin's wife, there's also trouble at home. On August 7th, 2009, she calls 911
I'd like to report a domestic violence incident.
to complain about her husband.
Yes, my husband and I had a fight, and he hit me. I really need it documented that he has been violent and that I'm really scared of him.
10 days later, she will call again, and this time, it will be a matter of life or death.
My husband attacked me, and I'm stabbed him.
And you stabbed him with what?
A knife. A kitchen knife.
When 73-year-old Dr. Peter Franklin meets a perky young equestrian named Sandra, it's love at first sight.
Dr. Franklin can't resist Sandra's youthful beauty, and she enjoys the kind of life his money can bring. A whirlwind romance spins into a lightning-quick waltz down the aisle. But the doctor is not quite the man she thought she married.
He was a difficult person to understand. He was kind of a strange character.
Peter Franklin can be cold and distant. He has trouble understanding people's emotions.
He knew he didn't have appropriate emotions for things. And quite frequently, he didn't display empathy, sympathy, concern. He was just like academic. I mean, imagine any of us being without emotion. That's how he was.
Dr. Franklin is also haunted by a terrible moment in his past.
He and his child and his child's friend went camping.
Feel good? Feel good, okay. You want to go and play? Okay.
And the child was playing with matches near the gas well. When he came upon the scene after hearing the explosion, his child was incinerated nearly. But the other child was just still being burned, and Peter went in and took care of the other child. It's hard for most people to comprehend. The guy who's a doctor, the first thing, your natural instincts would be to go after your own child.
Friends of Peter say he was never the same after losing his son.
Enough of it. Just sign the form.
I am not interested in life insurance.
Now he is under pressure and facing a new crisis.
It's $20,000. I am not interested.
You are 20 years older than me. I need the security.
His rushed marriage to Sandra has collapsed into fighting and petty arguments.
Their relationship, it fell apart, I believe, rather quickly. They were in the throes of a divorce.
Sandra says the doctor has a wandering eye.
She was accusing the doctor of having an affair with his office employee, a girl that was very young and actually whom they had both kind of thought of as a daughter.
Meanwhile, all those prescriptions for painkillers have caught the attention of the local police. They raid his clinic, and tension between Peter and Sandra reaches breaking point. Then, on a steamy Sunday evening in August, Sandra Franklin calls 911.
Bamber 911, what is your emergency?
My husband attacked me, and I stabbed him.
She called and she basically just said, "Hi, I just stabbed my husband."
And you stabbed him with what?
With a knife! With a kitchen knife!
Okay. He came at me. Okay. He hit me.
She was very, very clear to comment several times on that call that she was hit, that he tried to hit her. Those were her words, that he tried to hit her, so she stabbed him.
Sandra says she's in the hallway of their house when her husband begins to attack her.
You're not
You
getting them.
sign over my assets,
You're not getting
or I
anything.
will
Just
hurt you!
Ah! What are you doing?
She claims that he came after her with hard, sharp objects.
What are you doing? I was trying to more
She states that she took a knife and she drove this knife into her husband.
What are you doing?
Dr. Franklin then staggers from the house into the yard. And Sandra makes her desperate 911 call.
My husband attacked me, and I've stabbed him.
But out front, Peter is making his own 911 call.
911, what's the problem there?
Stab wounds.
Who stabbed you?
My wife.
And as Peter's life slowly drains away, he goes on to say more.
Were you involved in an argument?
She won.
Sir?
He said she won. I believe he meant that this had been a long time coming, and she basically finally did him in, and she won.
August 2009, Police in Bainbridge, Ohio, rush to the home of Sandra and Peter Franklin. In the yard, they find Peter clinging to life.
The night's come out. Are you bleeding?
Yes.
Stay on the phone with me, okay?
He called 911 first, and he's basically saying, send help. I think he knew he was bleeding to death.
Sir? Sir?
Inside, they discover his wife, Sandra, and the 12-inch butcher knife she used to stab him.
She was initially arrested for charges of felonious assault.
All I tried to do was defend myself.
She was taken back to the Bainbridge Police Department.
Did he push you, shove you?
Yeah, he smacked me hard in the face and knocked me to the ground.
Is that when you picked the knife up?
He didn't see it. I picked up the knife, and then he had something sharp, and he went like this, and then he put it up to my throat, and he said, I'm gonna kill you.
She was not concerned. She didn't seem concerned at all about her husband, about the condition that he was in.
I feared for my life. He said he was gonna kill me right then.
Also seemed much more concerned about her animals, her cell phone.
I'm worried about the horses because Matt just moved into the barn.
As opposed to her husband and how her husband was doing.
I didn't have any intent to do anything more than defend myself. I didn't want to kill him. I hope he's not dead.
It was only after, probably about an hour or so later after her arrest, that the police department learned that Peter had unfortunately passed. And at that time, they arrested her for murder.
Sandra Franklin wants police to believe that her husband is a violent monster who beat her and threatened her life. Investigators determined that the late doctor is just the opposite. He was a quiet, peaceful man who was terrified of conflict.
From everyone that I interviewed, which I said was probably over 20 people, everyone basically told me the same description of Peter, which was he was very quiet and would not initiate a fight nor even, continue a fight. He was the opposite of that. He was a very gentle person.
And the more they inquire, the more investigators discover that Sandra Franklin may have been the real monster in this marriage.
In everyone that I interviewed, I couldn't find anyone that liked her.
Oh, look at this. Where do you think you're going? To lunch. It's after 1 o'clock. Really? Who told you you could go?
They all told me that she was arrogant, paranoid.
May I go to lunch, please?
She was money hungry. She would often be screaming at the employees, firing them.
Enjoy it. You won't have a job for much longer. Go! Get out!
Basically, a very nasty woman was her general demeanor.
Under arrest, Sandra tells anyone who asks that her whirlwind wedding with Peter was all about love. But the evidence found by investigators tells a different story. This marriage is all about money.
She just took over every financial aspect of his life. He had a number of properties that were titled in his name. As soon as they were married, she had them titled all over to herself, telling him that, well, if you ever sued with malpractice suit, they couldn't get at this because it's in my name.
Go on, get out.
She would come into the office at the end of every day, take all the cash out of the cash box, and go. There was no concern for patients there, and it was all about the money. The money, the money, the money. And she spent it as fast as he made it.
Eventually, Dr. Franklin decides enough is enough. Talk turns to divorce, a fatal mistake.
There was a life insurance policy for the sum of $1 million that Peter didn't want.
Just sign the form.
But Sandra really wanted and pushed for it.
You're 72 years old. You
This was due to expire within 2 weeks. So technically, if he was not killed within 2 weeks, that $1 million life insurance policy would have expired.
She was not going to let this golden goose get away.
I picked up the knife.
Sandra wants the police to believe it was kill or be killed, but the evidence tells a different story.
Let me ask you this. When you made contact with him, was it in the kitchen or down the steps?
I don't want to talk anymore.
It was in the kitchen area there.
I will hurt you!
She said that Peter came after her with this unknown object
Oh, what are you doing?
in the kitchen area near the steps. Well, there was no blood whatsoever there.
What are you doing? You're even more insane.
There were a couple droplets of blood near the laundry room. So our independent investigation showed that Peter had to have been in the laundry room.
This wasn't in self-defense. It was a sneak attack.
And I think that she ambushed him and stabbed him. He had to have taken the laundry and stopped the bleeding because he was a doctor, he would know. And then he went out of the house and got away from her to call 911.
Peter's out in the yard clutching his laundry against his chest, as a doctor would do, trying to compress the wound. He called on his cell phone, and he made his call saying that, I've been stabbed and trying to get help for himself because he didn't believe she was going to come out and help him. This wasn't a loving woman. She hoped he bled to death out there.
She won.
When police arrive, Sandra tells them that Peter had come at her with a shiny instrument.
We had a specialized crime scene unit come and examine the scene. They're experts in crime scene, and they didn't find any weapon whatsoever, as Sandra described, that Peter would have attacked her with anywhere.
At a police interview, Sandra points to superficial wounds as proof of the altercation.
Look at these scratches. This is what I'm talking about.
Wounds that seemed to appear after her arrest.
When she called 911 and the EMS people came to look at her for injuries, they didn't see any injuries on her. After she was in the holding cell alone, and then she was looked at again, she had several scratch marks on her chest, and on her arm that we believe were self-induced.
Sandra's scratches are barely skin deep,
Don't you believe me?
in stark contrast to the wound that killed her husband.
She had put a knife 4.5 inches deep in his chest and transected bone. This was not something that was done just to nick him or scare him or try to keep him at bay. This was done to kill him.
And the motive for Peter's murder? Money, pure and simple.
The only one who would actually gain something from Peter's death would be Sandra. She would be the sole heir to the $1 million policy. She was the heir to the property that he had prior to the marriage, as well as the property that they were living on at the time, her country estate.
I don't know if Sandra was capable of loving anyone. She was really all about the money. Everything she did was around money.
Investigators believe that the conversion of Dr. Franklin's practice from respectable clinic to cash-only script mill was also driven by his money-hungry wife.
She was completely behind it. When Sandra got into the operation, she wanted to change it over to a pain management / script mill.
It tends to be a more lucrative business. He no longer accepted insurance. Basically, it was a cash-only type practice that was, again, driven mainly by Sandra.
Sandra only had dollar bills swimming around in her head.
After a 4-day trial, Sandra's claims about her husband's violent ways and her battle to save her life are put to the jury.
I'd like them to know that I loved him, and also that he brought his fate upon himself.
It takes them 2 days to make a decision. Guilty.
She thought we were a bunch of country bumpkins and that she could manipulate the system out here by hiring high-priced legal counsel and the best experts that she could afford. And the one thing you can't buy is the jurors, and you can't buy the facts.
Sandra Franklin is floored by the judgment. For once, she didn't get to bully her way through a situation. And she can't contain her anger.
As the jurors were filing out after convicting her, she yelled, "Shame on you." It was the first time I've heard an outburst like that in the many trials I've been in. And it was just completely out of place.
For Sandy McDermott, Dr. Franklin's former assistant, the conviction means justice has been served.
I think she really thought she was going to get away with it. She really played up this, oh, I'm petite and small and helpless, and Peter's this massive big guy. Well, he was a massive klutz. He was your typical major geek. He was so incompetent with tools. I doubt that he could have held on to her to hold that penknife up her neck, which she was convinced was going to kill her.
Dr. Peter Franklin, murdered at age 73, is cremated. His ashes are spread on the grave of his 10-year-old son, tragically killed all those years ago. Today, Sandra Franklin is in the Ohio Reformatory for Women, serving her sentence of 15 years to life for murder.
I always thought that she would divorce him. I guess it was not in my mind to think that she would plunge a 12-inch butcher knife into his chest.
July 14th, 2000, I remember it like it was yesterday. I had just started my night shift, and we got a call for a shooting. Because we're so close to July 4th, I remember asking the dispatcher, we get a lot of fireworks calls at that time of year, so I asked the dispatcher, I said, can you confirm and make sure it's not fireworks? Her response was, no, it's not fireworks. The person on the other end of the phone is telling me his sister's dying in his arms.
Wenham, Massachusetts. By July 2000, Sergeant John Gray had served in the local police department for 4 years. He is about to walk in to his first murder scene.
It was pitch black. It's the middle of the night. Not a lot of lighting on the property. And went up on foot to get to the house because I didn't want to be a target. We approached the house, and it's a pretty large mansion. Just people screaming and panicking.
Check it out upstairs. How long ago was she shot? A few minutes.
Everyone's screaming at us at once, trying to say, we think he's still in the house. I think he's upstairs. He's got a gun. Mrs. Sharp's brother was holding his sister in his arms. It was obvious to me that she had passed away.
Lying dead on the floor of her own house is 44-year-old Karen Sharp, caring mother of 3, a popular neighbor, and a woman with more than $3 million in assets to her name. A small fortune that cost Karen her life.
The story of Karen Hatfield and Richard Sharp begins in 1972 with a love affair between high school classmates.
He took one look at her, was immediately smitten, and she was a very shy girl, so he started kind of lavishing some attention and asking her out.
Things move fast. Karen gets pregnant. By graduation day, she's a mom. 3 months later, she's Richard's bride.
Karen would spend umpteen hours with the children, playing with them, getting down on the ground with them, reading to them, waking up every morning, making them breakfast, making breakfast for not only them, but also the neighborhood children. It was common knowledge that that was the type of person she was.
While Karen devotes herself to raising her 3 children, her husband becomes a doctor.
Dr. Sharp was very pale. He had very long hair. He kind of looked like a bad version of Mick Jagger, perhaps.
Shouldn't hurt too much. It's a bit like being flicked with a rubber band.
After he got his medical degree, he stated he wanted to cure cancer. That was his long-term ambition, but he decided there was money in skincare.
He was a pretty bright businessman. He bought laser machines for hair removal, and he ended up making millions of dollars from the business side as opposed to from the medical side.
In the year 2000, Richard Sharp claimed he was worth about $5 million, which then was probably, double what it is now.
Hey, let's have a look.
So they were pretty wealthy. They lived in a beautiful mansion in Gloucester, Massachusetts. They had some other places around there. So they lived the good life. He always drove a Porsche.
Hey.
Yeah, thank you.
He knew how to have a good time.
To those on the outside, the Sharps seemed to be living the dream. Until the summer of 2000.
Oh, my God.
Who would want to kill Karen Sharp? And in the aftermath of her murder, why can't anyone find her husband Richard? Police dig for answers and find out this was no fairy tale marriage.
Dr. Sharp was an abusive boyfriend, became an abusive husband. He was physically abusive, emotionally abusive, and verbally abusive.
They had a terrible marital relationship. There was a story that I think on New Year's party, he completely lost his temper and he stabbed Karen in the face with a fork. And he was incredibly violent. He would drink a lot, and he'd also be self-medicating himself with drugs.
For 27 years, Karen's too afraid to leave her husband.
It was a classic battering situation because Dr. Sharp was a very controlling individual. He was a control freak. She did not have the means or the wherewithal to leave the marriage.
Until her husband hands her a golden key.
Daddy's gonna play.
Go play in your room. You can finish later.
He'd signed over all his property to her because he was scared because he was being sued by a computer company for a patent.
Here?
Yeah.
Dr. Sharp, wanting to outsmart the opposition,
And just down the line.
decided to transfer millions of dollars into Karen's name so that he would be judgment-proof. But when Dr. Sharp transferred all of these assets, these millions of dollars in real estate, into her name, she felt empowered. And now she was able to break the yoke, break the chains of the domestic abuse, and she found her voice and decided she was going to leave Richard Sharp.
Richard Sharp thrives on control and money. Now his wife has them both. And she dares to go one step further. She leaves Richard and begins an affair.
She started seeing the builder who was doing all this building on their new house in Wenham, Massachusetts. He was very, very jealous.
Karen wants a divorce. In a secret affidavit, she details all the reasons why their marriage should be dissolved. And domestic violence is only the tip of the iceberg.
He would do bizarre things. I mean, he did strange things from the beginning, but his bizarreness only escalated as the relationship went on.
Now Karen's been shot dead. Has she taken her husband's bizarre secrets to her grave? And why can't anyone find him?
People were calling with tips of where he might be, or where he could be. We got all kinds of different information. He could be in the Caribbean by now, or he might be dressed up as a woman.
For 27 years, Karen Sharp was a doctor's wife with a perfect family. Then, she was shot dead.
Town of Wenham, it's a pretty small town, so we don't get a lot of murders in this town.
As Officer John Gray looks into the dead eyes of Karen Sharp, he is surrounded by eyewitnesses to her murder.
It's her husband, her ex-husband.
There was no doubt that it was him. By witness accounts, everybody there said it was Dr. Richard Sharp had killed his wife.
On the night of her shooting, Karen had been celebrating her impending divorce with her brother and her friends.
We should. Be good.
Babysitter saw the door open, and she saw a pale-looking man. And Richard Sharp reached back, he pulled out a rifle, he leveled it at her. Severed her spinal column, and she died on the spot.
True crime writer John Glatt delved into the twisted psyche of Richard Sharp while researching a book on the case.
Well, I thought the Richard Sharp case was a fascinating case. I mean, it had elements of true crime which I'd never seen before. I'd written 20 books, and this is definitely one of the most interesting. It was a, very charismatic personality, very, very different. And I just wanted to find out what made him tick. I mean, whether I did is an open question, and I don't really think I did, but it was fascinating trying to get in his shoes for a little bit and see where he came from and what drove him to murder.
Police appeal for help to track down Dr. Sharp and receive some startling advice.
You might want to look for a woman matching the description.
Dr. Sharp was a cross-dresser, a transvestite.
He had a fetish, I guess, that he would dress like a woman on different occasions.
Police are told this had been going on throughout Dr. Sharp's marriage. He had even pulled outfits from his wife's underwear drawer. And then...
Richard Sharp was obsessed with his weight, and his daughter, who by that time was 18, was beautiful, had a model's figure, and Richard felt that he looked better in her underwear and clothes than he did in Karen's, so he started dressing in her clothes.
Even his wife's birth control pills weren't safe.
He had started taking estrogen birth control pills to try to enhance his breast size.
In recent years, Karen had worried about the effect on her children.
The young son, on a couple of occasions, would be getting ready to go to school, and Richard would come in drag.
How dare you come in here dressed like that?
And he looked like he'd been out all night, his mascara was running, his hair was all over the place.
Richard, in front of Mikey, get out! How dare you do this in front of him?
And Karen was just horrified by this.
For years, the respected doctor's cross-dressing has been hidden from the public eye. But that's about to change.
Dr. Sharp had checked into this motel in New Hampshire and had used his own credit card. They had the local police there, the state police from Massachusetts. They threw a canister of tear gas into the room, and Dr. Sharp came out without incident.
28 hours after Karen Sharp's murder, Richard Sharp is arrested. Placed on trial for murder, his bizarre sexual behavior could become his best shot at freedom. It's time for the doctor to make his secrets public.
When they read the January issue of Boston Magazine, society matrons almost choke on their afternoon tea. Above a caption that reads, "Sharp-dressed man. Is that nice doctor from Gloucester?" in a low-cut blouse and fishnet stockings. The door to Dr. Sharp's closet has been flung wide open.
It did come out during the trial that Dr. Sharp was a cross-dresser, a transvestite. The government, we did not present that evidence. That was defense evidence to try to show how crazy Dr. Sharp was.
On trial for first-degree murder, Richard Sharp pleads temporary insanity. His defense team links his cross-dressing to his traumatic childhood.
Sharp was scarred from a very early age by his father. Beat up Richard and his older brother, but he didn't beat up the sister. So Richard found sanctuary by dressing up in her clothes, because somehow it would, take him to another state of mind where he felt safe and secure that his father wasn't going to beat him up. I think Richard Sharp was a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde, and it depended on what drugs or how much drink he'd had at a certain time. But he could be incredibly charming and really get whatever he wanted, be very nice. He had a charming smile. But then he could just go off the hook and lose his temper and become incredibly violent and terrify people. And he was also very antisocial. Later, I think the forensic psychologist described him as schizophrenic with narcissistic tendencies. And I think this all rooted really from his childhood and his relationship with his father.
In court, Dr. Sharp plays up the insanity defense.
I actually watched the trial, and he was obviously playing to the audience and playing to the jury. And there'd be certain times where he would just sit with his head in his hands, his eyes closed for hours on end. And then he'd suddenly sort of come to life, and you could just see at the trial, he was very, very bizarre.
But the evidence against him poses a difficult question. Just how crazy is this guy?
The prosecution said it was a very carefully laid plan, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
Dr. Sharp had pulled into the beginning of the driveway near the street, shut off the lights, and skulked up this 300-foot driveway carrying the rifle.
Oh my God, Richard!
God!
After he shot Karen, he then fled the scene. He knew what he was doing. He realized he had done something bad. He fled to avoid prosecution.
All that suggests Dr. Sharp was calm and collected when he shot his wife. Not legally insane, just cold, controlling, and greedy.
As the prosecutor, I tried to show the jury that this was not a case of insanity. The overwhelming motivation was control. He had had control, complete and thorough control over Karen Sharp for 27 years, and now that was disintegrating. And more importantly, his measure of worth, of self-worth, was by the amount of money that he had. And he lost control of that money.
So I think all these things kind of built up and drove him to murder. I think Richard killed Karen because I think there were a number of things. Firstly, he'd lost control. He couldn't face the fact that she was leaving him for somebody else, and he was losing her. I think there was also, he didn't want to pay her the money that she was going to get in the divorce. She had a very, very smart divorce lawyer. that was going to take him for at least 50% of what he had, and I don't think he could face that either.
The jury spends 2 days contemplating the tragic tale of Karen and Richard Sharp. They decide that the doctor is guilty of first-degree murder. He receives the mandatory sentence of life without parole. But his life of crime isn't over.
One of his fellow prisoners was about to get paroled, and Dr. Sharp wanted this prisoner, once he got out, to take a hit out on the prosecutor, namely me, and murder me.
So, remember everything I told you?
And he was going to pay this man tens of thousands of dollars if he was able to take me out.
What's the name of the prosecution?
It was a little disconcerting, but frankly, Dr. Sharp was such an inept criminal that at the end of the day, I did not really feel like I was going to suffer any harm at his hands or someone that he was going to be able to solicit.
And Sharp also plans an elaborate attempt to break out of prison.
He had hatched, while he was in custody, an escape scheme. He had hired one of the other inmates, another prisoner, to arrange to break him out of custody. And at one point, Dr. Sharp was going to Mass General Hospital for an MRI or a CAT scan. And he got this other inmate, told him he would pay him tens of thousands of dollars if he would get some people to shoot the guards that were holding him and help him escape and flee the country. And there would be a big bonus for them when he passed the border in Canada.
But the scheme never gets off the ground.
The inmate realized he didn't have the money anymore after reading the papers and turned him into the cops.
The murder of Karen Sharp was especially tragic because it occurred on the first day in 27 years that Karen had felt truly free of her abusive husband.
On July 14th, Karen was about to have what she told others was going to be her coming out party. She was going to enjoy herself. There was going to be a harbor cruise in Gloucester Harbor. She invited her brother, with whom she was very close, and brought his girlfriend and the girlfriend's daughter along. There were other family members around, and Karen was just shining that day in a very, very good mood.
I think Karen had thought that she'd finally made the break from Richard after 27 years of marriage. She wanted to be her own woman. She was hoping that night was really her divorce from him, that she had a new power and freedom.
Until Richard arrives to spoil the party.
I can't imagine the horror when she saw him holding a rifle aimed at her. You know, I just can't imagine what was going through her mind.
The tragedy of this whole thing is he had a restraining order against him. Unfortunately, he violated the order, and at the same time that he violated it, he killed his wife.
Then in 2009, Dr. Richard Sharp plays his final card, hanging himself in his prison cell.
I didn't shed many tears for Dr. Sharp. I thought that he was an evil, abusive, manipulative murderer. And if he wanted to take his own life, that's fine.
This is a guy that had everything. He had the brain, he had the drive, he had a beautiful wife and children. He could have made such a success of his life. And instead, it just ended up in a jail cell with him hanging from the roof.
The children had to witness their mother being killed by their father. He ruined a family, and he ruined a life, and I just think it was a huge tragedy for these children.
Was it for love or money? These marriages were poisoned by greed. Dr. Richard Sharp couldn't bear to share a cent of his great fortune, and Sandra Franklin was terrified her golden goose would escape. Two couples headed to the courts until one partner made a brutal decision. Forget about the alimony. They chose death before divorce. Till next we meet, behind mansion walls, I'm Christopher Mason.